put up on the broadcast.
All right, here we are. Let's hear it, y'all.
Yay!
A crew in here.
Today.
We're live at Barefoot, 108 East Main, Fredericksburg. Of course, you can see on Billy's.live, got a lot of Battling Billy gear right behind us. How about this? How about we start off the broadcast? Which camera do we want to? On the front cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, and this is the commemorative edition.
Yeah.
And
Pretty
the
cool.
Billy's on the front and the back.
Yeah. And the inside, front,
And
back.
the inside, and everywhere.
So-
It's all Billy's. Dave
Yeah.
Campbell devoted this entire.
Yeah, right. No, they started that a couple years ago. Our Billy boosters, thank them for committing to do this. They get to pay a discounted rate for this edition, and then they wrap the front cover. Everybody can see that's the normal magazine, and then they wrap the front and the back with all Battling Billy information. So it's pretty cool. They're on sale for $20 at the field house if people want to buy them. But all the front and back cover is about us and dedicated to us, and then the normal articles are in there about our district and all that stuff. So it's a pretty cool deal.
Good stuff. And what a start to the season. My goodness. 55-20.
Yeah.
Neutral site.
Yeah.
Big win over Monahans.
Yeah.
Kicking off, I guess it was the very first football game in Texas.
It was one of three, I think, that was on that night, and I think we started at 7 and the other started at 7:30, so it may have been the first one.
The first,
in Texas, so,
first
yeah.
coin toss.
Yeah, no, that
I
was
guess
cool.
Gavin French with the first touchdown.
Touchdown, yeah, and Cole Limble with the first coin toss, and that deal, I forgot about. That was one of the COVID protocols, was that they don't do the friendship exchange anymore. Used to, student councils would, and normally student councils would go out and do some sort of exchange, of some kind of memorabilia item or something with the other school, and then when you do the captains, typically you send 4 captains out to do the coin toss, and I completely forgot about that until that moment. and we had our 4 captains lined up, and we'd already decided who was going to talk, and we were ready to go, and the referee said, "Coach, you only get 1 captain." I was like, "Oh no!" And so the guy that was supposed to talk, Cole, got to do the first coin flip, and got on TV, got a lot of press about it, so it's pretty cool.
Shout out to Paige Finley, Caleb Dale,
No doubt.
Billy's.live, as we are partnered up with TexasRadio.net. But I mean, over 7,000 streams between the radio and, of course, 95% of those were on Billy's.live. People wanted to see it, but man, people hooking it up to their big screen TVs. And, that's a lot of.
Yeah, that's a lot of households. We haven't had our census come out yet, but that's the majority of our town. Anyway,
Yeah, it's pretty good. Really
so that's a cool part. The neat thing about UIL this year is that they're allowing the live stream or the live broadcast, and that's never been done. It's always been taboo. They value Friday night football. They value butts in the seats of the stadiums, right? And so they don't want to open it up like the college market and the pro market where, people don't go to the games anymore. They want it to be a valuable thing for a community like ours. And so it's a big deal for them to allow that as part of this whole COVID thing. And I mean, I can't tell you how many people from all over the country, all over the world even. A friend of mine in Japan sent me a message about it. About the professionalism of the broadcast. And then of course it got a lot of play on KSAT because they took our feed and played it on the news that night, and they made a comment about how good the broadcast was. Of course, King and Cayman are amazing broadcasters.
They were sitting in the control room watching it.
Yeah,
they watched the whole
and
thing.
of course Paige and his crew have just done such a spectacular job, all the different angles and the different views. And so, you couldn't ask for a better professional job. I look back to the days, in the 80s when I played, and our old cable news or our cable broadcasting company there in my hometown would rebroadcast the games on Saturday morning after the game, and they were always very grainy and it wasn't very professional. So this whole deal has been just an amazing professional deal, and we're blessed by it, and Paige and his crew, so we appreciate them for doing that.
We're blessed to be partnered up, teamed up here.
It's cool.
Cool. How does it feel to start with momentum like that, Coach?
Yeah,
55-20. My goodness.
Yeah, I wish I could take some of those points to district with us. I wish we could carry some of those over. We're blessed to be playing. Number one, that's the most important thing. But then to be able to play as well as we have 2 weeks in a row, I thought we played exceptional in the scrimmage for starting. and then to be able to have the first game turn out like it did, I think it speaks to the team and to their buy-in and to their ability to, you know, get better each week and, you know, to be able to execute as well as we did in the first game against the, you know, I don't know if people know this or not, but Monahan's is a tradition-rich program. I've had many people tell me that they're the Permian of West Texas, like further west than Permian, you know, and so tradition-rich program, you know, they expect to win out there, they expect to go to the playoffs, go deep in the playoffs, all that stuff. And for us to be able to play a program like that and beat them by 35 points, you know, certainly their coach is doing a good job. He's been there a couple of years, and you know, he's got them going, and you're going to see down the road that they're going to compete a lot better than they have the last couple of years. And so I couldn't be more happy with that, and just the whole, all the environment around it, you know, all the things we had to deal with and getting there and all that kind of stuff. It was icing on the cake to be able to execute and function. And shout out to our coaches and our kids and the whole group for their preparation getting ready for it. I thought our offensive, defensive, and special teams coordinators, as well as all of our assistant coaches, did a great job preparing the kids for what Monahan's was going to do. It was nothing that was a surprise or nothing that you know, we didn't expect or whatever. And you know, and for the nature of this team, which is young, certainly there's a great senior group of kids on this team, but there's a lot of young kids that was their first varsity snap. You know, Cole Lemel comes to mind. That was his. He played a little bit last year against Taylor, but for him to step into that moment and to be able to operate and function and do the things that we need him to do is just amazing. And then you go down the list, you know, there's 2 or 3 sophomores on defense and a couple of young underclassmen that never started on offense, and all these new faces and these new names out there. And for them to be able to perform that well is just a really good thing. And it's a good start, and it's what they needed.
Speaking of performing well, I think that one of the big storylines coming out of this is that offensive line.
Yeah, no question.
I mean, they're playing out of their minds.
No question.
I mean,
they are mashing people, and that's what you want. They've got a little edge to them. They're all exceptional kids. If they walked into this show today, they're the nicest kids. Just great young men, you know, do all the things right in class, do all the things right at home, take out the trash for their mom, all that stuff. But when they put that helmet on, Coach Timms is getting them to understand that there's got to kind of be a switch. And that's kind of the best thing about football, in my opinion, is that they get to flip that switch and be a little bit nasty. And so you got to see some of that. And they dominated Monahan's defensive front for sure. And then flip it over to the defensive line. You know, I thought the defensive line did a great job too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Rolling guys in and out. And that's something that's kind of changed in football, is that, you know, defensive front, you see it at all levels now. And we're able to do it this year because we're blessed with some talented kids. We're rolling guys in so that they always have fresh legs, so that they never get to the point where they have to take a play off because they're so tired.
You can see Monahan's fourth quarter starting to
we certainly
their energy was drained.
Kind of blew it out of them, right?
Yeah.
And that's what you want to do, is you want to kind of be able to take over. And that's part of 4A Division I playing 4A Division II, is that we have more kids than they do. If you counted their sideline, we had 40 kids on the sideline and they had 27 or something. And so that, you know, and most of their guys, they're big. Their best player, I promise you, he's a recruitable kid, number 7, I forget his name, but he's a stud. And by the second half, we were whipping him on every play. And that was because he got tired, because he's playing both ways, and, you know, he's not getting what he needs on the side. So anyway, yeah, it was a great start. Couldn't be more happy with where we are. And you know, out of all this circumstance, everything changing in the schedule, I think that the schedule we got will be conducive to the nature of our team. It'll help us, being young and not having experience, potentially gain the right experience that we need for the journey we're going to get to when we get to district and we get to playing the Bernies and the Wimberleys and the Burnetts and the Austin LBJs, and when the games count and they matter. So hopefully that's the way it's going to work out.
What is it like with the COVID-19 implications? I mean, you know, y'all did a great job and have been doing a great job with it. How do you sustain that, though? How do you make sure it's gonna stay that way?
Yeah, that's the whole deal, you know. And I promise you, I lost some sleep Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, Monday night, worrying that the Monahan's coach is going to call me and tell me that they had 5 cases of COVID, right? And now we got to contact trace and mitigate and figure out who it was, and we got to go back and look at our symptoms and who's shown symptoms and try to figure out, you know, the biggest fear you have is that somebody that you don't get to control is going to shut you down because of something that happened somewhere else.
Right.
You know, and so
That's out of your control.
that's out of your control, and so that's the thing. That's why, you know, I think that's why it's so apropos that our theme or our word this year is finish. And so we want to finish the season. We want to do everything we can. We want to wear our mask. We want to carry our water bottle. We want to make sure that we do the screening. We want to be ready to take our temperature. We want to do all those things so that when those things happen, we can mitigate the process and not have to shut the whole thing down. And that's what we're committed to, and that's what we're doing. You know, it's completely different. You know, you're riding on the bus. Every kid's got on a mask. The kids are spread out on the bus. You know, another thing I didn't think about until the moment it happened. We come out of the locker room, and every kid's got their water bottle because they took their water bottle down to the sideline for warm-up, and then they took it back in to fill them up for the game. And we're getting ready to go down, and we're going to come together as a team, and we're going to carry the flags, and we're going to go through the arch. We're not going through the tunnel because we're not going to put 40 kids in that confined of a space, right?
Right.
It's another thing that was different. But we're coming down, and I'm like, oh no, when are they supposed to take their water to the sideline? Because a couple of them are going to carry flags, and I don't really want them running through the run-through with their water bottle, you know, like a Little League game or whatever, you know? and so I'm like, they got to go, okay, hold on, guys, stop. Okay, when we go down there, if you have your water bottle, take it to the sideline and come back. We'll wait on it. You know, and so just little things like that were the things that you had to think about. And then you know, distribution of food after the game, everything's got to be prepackaged, and we're not, you know, kids are grabbing their own stuff, and, you know, all of that stuff, and I thought it went really well. You know, it's certainly different. The hardest thing for me, as everyone knows, I like to yell at the referees, and now they can't hear me because I've got my mask on. And so not only do they ignore me, but now they can't hear me. So that's why we had 9 penalties and they had 2 or whatever.
Well, on television, you can say what you want because they can't read your lips.
Right.
So, you're good.
So, but that, you know, and that's all, but it's all worth it, and that's what, you know, like I talked to some 5A and 6A coaches that I'm friends with that called and congratulated us, and that was the other thing was, you know, I can't say how humbling it was to all the people that watched, the 7,000 people that were watching. There were people all over, and then people responding to how well we handled the protocols and how well we did with doing all the things we had to do. So
yeah, because as I understand it, UIL called out some teams.
Certainly they did.
But I mean, and they needed to, because if you're getting dangerous, you're going to screw it up for everybody.
Well, they did, and I certainly won't mention those teams, but I was at one of those games last Friday night, and I was a little in shock about how many people were in the stands and how they weren't really following the protocols. And so, and that's the whole thing, you know, the state of Texas, UIL, THSCA, we're all in this together.
Right.
And we got to do this right so that the others can keep doing it too. You know, and we got to do it right so that they can do it in California, and they can do it in Indiana, and they can do it.
Well, I was going to say, you're leading the nation, even as far as college football.
No question.
Leading the nation right now.
Last night was the first college game, right?
Right.
I think on TV, I didn't see it, but first college game. I think Texas State plays SMU Saturday night. So we got to keep doing it right so that others can continue to do it. That's a responsibility you have, and that's. You know, that's why we got to take this stuff serious, and it's not a joke, and it's not. And you know, I remind the kids today, and Coach Riley did a good job in our team meetings telling the kids that our word this week was opportunity, and what an opportunity this is for us that so many other kids in the United States don't get to do. Like most kids in the United States aren't getting to play football right now. So what a responsibility that is, as much as it is an opportunity. So just be thankful and blessed for that, and we're going to continue to get through it, and we're going to continue to, and things are changing. The UIL came out with some different protocols this week, and so we added them to our COVID plan. The biggest thing that stands out is that now we can go 24 hours without symptoms, and you know, with no symptoms and no negative test, and the kid can come back. when all along it's been 72 hours. They still have to quarantine if they show symptoms without a test. They still have to quarantine for the 10 days or whatever. But prior to now, it was the 10 days plus 72 hours of no symptoms. And so just the fact that that changed is a little step in the right direction. We're still going to mitigate all those things and do all those things, but you hope to see, as the cases go down, you hope to see a lessening of all of the restrictions so that we get back to normal. So yeah, it's definitely different. I've said a million times, I'm blessed with such a great staff. They are doing an amazing job because I'm not coaching any football, like, period. Like, I watched the other team in last week's game. I saw them live, and I watched the film one time, and then I watched their scrimmage one time. So I'm not really getting to do the football stuff that I like to do because I want to make sure all of this stuff is going down right and make sure we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, there's some sacrifices on the way.
Well, yeah, no question. And I mean, it's just like yesterday. I mean, last week, we took every kid's temperature before we got on the bus because it's our responsibility to make sure that that stadium and that other team knows that we've all been screened and none of us have symptoms at the moment that we play. And I'm relying on Coach Stow from Monaghan's to do the same thing. And not let a kid, get on the bus that might, because let's face it, in the old days, we told a kid to suck it up. If you got a fever, suck it up and get your behind to practice. Well, that's not happening now. I mean, if you don't feel good, you have any of those symptoms, stay away. Right. Stay away as long as you need to.
I think that's the most important ingredient is checking temperatures.
No question.
Because if you don't have a temperature, you're good. Right. It all starts and ends with the temperature.
Well, and that's what we've done, and we're recording all that information. That's what I was alluding to. Is that's what I'm spending all my time is recording all that information, so that we're actually putting together some empirical data that we can look at, and we can. And when we had our first positive case, we were able to look at that data and mitigate the whole team from a perspective of, well, he got sick on Monday, he didn't find out he had COVID until Saturday, but we took temperatures Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we had not a single kid that had a temperature. So not a single kid, and they all checked off that they didn't show any symptoms. So when the positive test came out, we had proven over the week that we had nobody that had any symptoms, so we were good. Rather than having to quarantine and hit the group he's with or the locker room he was in or whatever, and he had his mask on the whole time. And so that's. But we're going to keep doing that because we want to keep playing.
Amen to that. Great start, 55-20 over Monahan. Yeah. With a win like that, we talked about some of the highlights.
Yeah.
What about improvement? Where did you see some areas?
Well, I already mentioned penalties. We certainly have to get better on the defensive front of watching the man in front of us for the ball. We jumped off sides 3 times on defense. We gave up a unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. We had a holding penalty that was questionable that I probably could have talked them out of if they could have heard me. Those are things that when you come out of a win like that, it's great as a coaching staff because there's so much you can continue to improve in. If you just rolled them and it was 55-0 and you didn't, make some ball security issues come to mind. We put the ball on the turf a little bit. We got the ball stolen away from us once and gave up a touchdown. And so there's plenty for us to work on. Those kind of things we got to fix. We were deliberate in practice this week to try to fix some of those things, and just locking in. Coach Weiler's talking to the defense about becoming a football player rather than playing football. Right? If you play football, you're not really engaged to what's going on. But when you become a football player, you're anticipating what's going to happen. You're understanding the importance of all the little details. You're on the sideline. You don't have a mistake on special teams because you're not paying attention. We went for 2 one time, and when we went for 2, I got to do a better job too. I got to make sure the kids know we're going for 2 because we got behind an extra point. Certainly, we got to fix that. Our kickers have got to. We call our extra point team money because we want it to be automatic, and we missed 2. We missed the first 2 last week, so. So we had to chase some points, and all the coaches knew we were going to go for 2 long before we scored, but I didn't tell the kids until we scored, and so one of the kids we needed in the set was down talking to his defensive coach, and so just those kind of things are little things that you got to manage and you got to figure out a better way to do, so that you don't have to call a timeout, or we were able to get the 2 points back and all that stuff. But yeah, those are things that we got to continue to improve on, and I don't think you can ever be good enough at the fundamentals. We've got to take care of the ball better. We've got to tackle better. We got to run better. We made some great plays. I shout out to Logan Messick, that 4th and 1 on the goal line. I mean, that was a big time. That was a big time linebacker play. You watch him on film, and he rolled his hips, and his pads are below that kid. And that kid was big. He was giving up some weight to that kid, and certainly giving up some speed and strength to that kid. But he got his pads under that kid, and he rolled his hips, and he ran his feet, and he kept that kid out of the end zone. And that's an awesome deal. So you take those things, and then I told him this morning, the reason we show our highlight video is because we want to show you all the things we did really well, so that we can continue to grow the highlight reel, right? We want the highlight reel to be really long, and today it was exceptionally long because we scored 55 points. But we want it to keep getting longer, and we want to make Pastor Clint have to work a little bit harder to pick out the highlights he can put on the video, because we're doing all those things right, because there were plenty of things that we needed to improve on. So yeah, no, we got plenty of things to keep improving on, and so that was the best part of the game. We won a big game, and we still got lots to work on.
Great way to start the season. We're going to talk about the players of the week coming up. We're live at Barefoot, 108 East Main, Fredericksburg. Coffee with Coach Lance Moffet, J.D. Rose with you right here. We'll be back right after these.
Touch Well Service will take care of all your water well needs that come after drilling. They specialize in water pump installation and repairs, servicing windmills, solar pumps, jets, submersible pumps, and pressure tanks. Touch Well Service has been in business since 2002 with 83 years combined experience. Their entire staff is dedicated to their customers. Touch Well Service supports all men and women in the United States military and first responders. Touch Well Service, 830-997-2413. On the web, hillcountrywaterwell.com, and look for them on Facebook.
Be the envy of the neighborhood with the lush, thriving lawn from All Around Irrigation, LLC. We are dedicated to providing friendly, professional service to leave you with outstanding results. We have built a reputation for getting the job done right. We offer a number of services, including land clearing, development, rain collection, drainage, and of course, landscaping irrigation. The grass can be greener on your side when you call All Around Irrigation, LLC today.
Hey volleyball fans, Joseph Financial Partners is here to support the Battling Billies and to help you with all of your financial goals. Whether it's saving for retirement, college savings, or even life insurance or long-term care, we've got your back. Let us serve up an appointment with you, then dig into your finances, goals, and dreams. Hey, and then we can assist and set a plan in motion and spike your goals to score. Success takes teamwork, so call Joseph Financial Partners at 830-997-4763 or check us out online at josephfinancialpartners.com. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA/SIPC.
ValueMed Pharmacy is Fredericksburg's pharmacy. By putting our customers first, we've earned a sterling reputation as the premier provider in town. With free home delivery, convenient location, and a speedy drive-up window, getting your medications has never been easier. ValueMed offers competitive pricing and accepts most prescription insurance. We're located at 707 North Llano Street, or give us a call at 830-997-8155. Come see why ValueMed Pharmacy truly is Fredericksburg's pharmacy.
Untrained professional.
I've got a face for radio and a voice for newspaper, but hey, we're here. We're going to be all right. We're going to be all right.
Yes.
How did the sub-varsity come out last night?
Yeah, so that's cool. Last week sub-varsity played on Friday, so when we had the show, I couldn't talk about what they done.
Right.
And they split.
You
last
tricked
week.
me, remember?
I did. I tricked you on that. They split last week. The JV got beat pretty well, pretty handily. But the thing to be said about that is they played Comal Davenport. Comal Davenport is a brand new school. They're probably going to be a 6A. Certainly they're going to be a 5A to a 6A size school. They only have sophomores and freshmen right now. But when you open a school like that, that's their varsity, right? That's not their JV, that's their varsity. All of their best players, no matter what grade they are on that team. And on our JV, we've got 3 or 4 sophomores playing on varsity. We've got a whole bunch of juniors playing on varsity, you know, and our JV is made up of juniors and sophomores. So the score's a little deceiving. I mean, it's not apples and apples because they're not really playing the same type of team that they're used to playing. It's good competition for them, certainly. They got better. Lots of things to work on. They made a bunch of mistakes that kind of let the game slip away from them. They had a bunch of turnovers and some snap errors and some things that didn't go our way that kind of gave them some momentum. And of course, they're playing their first game in the history of their school. Their band is there. Their drill team is there. I mean, it's like a Friday night football game, and our JV kids are playing in the middle of this you know, inauguration of this school. You know, and it's a big deal for them. It was their first win, and that was all over social media afterwards and all that. So shout out to our kids for their composure and the way they competed and they played hard. And then our freshmen won. Our freshmen dominated. They beat them 35-6 or 35-8. So that was a big win for us, and that's a good thing too. And so those two games were good. And then last night we went to Gerald. We went 5 hours apart last night. We went to Uvalde, Texas for the freshman game, and we went to Gerald, Texas for the JV game. So Gerald's freshmen were already scheduled to play Llano. So he honored that because he'd made that schedule before all the COVID stuff happened. So they didn't have a freshman team for us to play. So luckily when we scrimmaged Uvalde, Coach Gonzalez and I figured out that neither one of us had a game week 2. So we went to Uvalde, and the freshmen got lightninged out. But we were up 7-0 in the first quarter, and we were about to score. We went 14-0, so we're going to count that as a 7-0 win, even though we didn't finish the game. We sat there for about 30 to 45 to 60 minutes, waiting for the lightning to clear out. And when that happens, every time a lightning strike is within 10 miles of the stadium, you have to go another 30 minutes of delay time. So we normally put a standard on it. When they left, I said, we're not going past 7 o'clock. So if you get a lightning strike at 6:35, it's time to come home because we're 2.5 hours away from home or whatever. And same thing in Gerald. But Gerald, and it's interesting to me, the Gerald coach was texting me all day telling me the forecast and all that stuff. And so they were a little more concerned about it. And I said, we're going. We're not going to not come just because of what might happen. And certainly we got up there and it didn't rain a lick and there was no thunder, no lightning or anything, and they ended up winning 47-12. So big win for them. Come from a kind of a tough defeat last week and then turn around and have a big win this week and show a bunch of improvement. The coaches worked really hard with both of those groups this week, getting them ready to play. And so we got 2 big victories, and 2 big victories with the freshmen in a row, and then a loss last week and a victory this week with the JV.
Love it.
So,
absolutely.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
How about players of the week for the
for last week?
Moffett game?
So I'll start with JV and freshman. Our JV player of the week last week was Will Dagenhart. He's quarterback and defensive back, and he's a leader. He's on our leadership council, and he's a kid that is just a natural leader and a good player. He kept his composure last week in that loss and helped those guys stay focused and keep doing what they're doing. It was kind of overwhelming that he was going to be the player of the week. And our freshman player of the week is Roddy Bick. Had a big game. He's kind of a multi-talented athlete. He's played some quarterback, he plays some running back, he plays defensive end, he's played linebacker. He's kind of been kind of a jack of all trades in our program. And so, but he's a tough, hard-nosed kid and plays hard and gets after it. Then our varsity players of the week, special team player of the week. And this year, Coach Riley is giving those guys a sleeve to wear tonight. So Javi Rodriguez is that guy. He did a great job returning stuff for us last week, punts and kickoffs. And he opened the season with a huge return on the kickoff return and kind of set us up for a good offensive series. And so he's going to wear a sleeve tonight that says GOAT on it because he's the GOAT from special teams. So, and the defensive player of the week, Gary Seidenberger, number 21. I think he had 12 tackles. He's all over the field.
He was beast mode.
He was a beast, and I love it because he pumps his chest. I mean, he's an old school linebacker, and that's what you want. I mean, his job is to play between the tackles and stuff everything, and he did a great job of that, as well as Logan. I already mentioned Logan had a great stop on goal line. But the thing that stood out with Gary was Gary had 2 big sacks, and I don't know. We had some really good linebackers last year, and we've had a history of pretty good linebackers. And these 2 might be better than any of them. And that's going to offend some of those guys. But these 2 guys, by the time it's all over with, may be as good as anybody we've had. And the thing that stood out with Gary was he had 2 sacks, I think, maybe 3. I know he had 2 sacks. And we typically haven't gotten our inside linebackers to the quarterback, and so that was something that was pretty cool about our defense, and Coach Wilder, recognized that. So Gary Seidenberg, he's also an offensive player, and then offensively, Judd Beard, that dude.
Speaking of playing out of your mind,
and that's who he is, and that's who we knew he was going to be, and so I couldn't be more happy for him. And he played exceptional on defense, and he admittedly he'll tell you that he gave up a touchdown. He went into a speed turn and he tripped, and the guy got by him, and I think he told one of our coaches that I'm glad that happened because he's motivated, right? He wants to be perfect, and he wants to do it right every time. And so it was kind of a good thing, and I was so proud of him that he saw that and he recognized that, because that's going to happen. We're all humans, and we're all going to make mistakes, and bad things are going to happen. How you respond is what matters. He could have got his head down, and he could have been mad at himself or whatever, but we got this.
You got to flush it.
Okay.
Flush
that
it.
one's gone, and especially if you play corner. He plays corner on defense, and I've alluded to the fact that he might be the best corner in the region as we move forward through the season. But when you play corner, you have to flush it. Corner and offensive line are the two most visible when something bad happens, right? Because when the quarterback gets sacked, everybody in the stadium knows what happened. They don't know anything about football. They just know the offensive line screwed up, right? And it might not have been the offensive line's fault. It might have been the fact that the quarterback held the ball too long, or it might have been the fact that the back didn't block the linebacker, or it might have been whatever. But it doesn't matter. It's the offensive line's fault, right? And everybody's screaming at them. And then the corner, when you give up a deep pass, everybody in the stadium knows it's that guy's fault, right? And so how you handle that is what matters. And so Judd certainly did amazing things on offense. He ran the ball exceptionally well, had over 100 yards rushing. He had 2 big catches, I think, and we ran multiple sets. And the thing about him is that he gives us the dynamic explosion on offense, because he's such a smart football player, and he loves the game so much that we can put him wherever we want. And so we can insert him in any of those skill positions across the offensive backfield, and that creates a problem for the defense. And
fits.
Yeah.
Defensive fits.
No, it messes them up big time. And then you factor in, Javi Rodriguez and Gavin French, who both had exceptional nights, and I think Tripp Dennis caught a ball, Matthew Smith caught a ball. We were kind of spread out. I think Cole scored 2 touchdowns, so we were able to be pretty balanced, but Judd certainly was a big factor in that, and that's why he's offensive player of the week. So proud of all 3 of those guys, and proud to recognize them, and we'll be doing it again next week with the ones from tonight.
Coach, who are the captains this year? How do you pick the captains, or how are the captains chosen?
Yeah, so we announced that last week. We have a leadership council that is made up of it's like 23 kids this year. It used to be a set number of kids, and I kind of increased that last year. A couple years ago, we kind of as a staff decided we needed to do more deliberate things to help develop leadership, and part of that was we needed to get more kids involved, and so we increased the size of the leadership council. They get elected to that at the end of the season for the next year, so the freshmen get to pick their top leaders, and those guys come on, and they'll be sophomores the next year, and then the seniors get to add guys. Used to, it was 4 per grade, and then you'd add 4 for your senior year, so you'd have 8 guys, and I think we have 9 seniors this year, but so it's kind of that way. That's how you get on the deal. And then if you're on the leadership council, then you get the opportunity to apply to be a captain, and we've got an application, and the first year we did that was last year, and we didn't have COVID happen, so we did all that in the spring. They applied to be captains in the spring. They turned in their application. The coaches all read their applications, and the coaches all ranked them and rated them, and then we got to watch them over the summer, and then we watched them through camp, and then we came back and we let the team and the kids vote, and we did the same kind of thing this year. We just did it in a condensed version. We didn't start the process until training camp started, and actually it didn't start till the end of the first week of training camp, so I only gave them about a week, or actually I only gave them like 3 days to get their application in. And we did the same thing. We had the coaches rate them and rank them anonymously, just like you would do on a scholarship, and then we watched them through training camp, and then last week we voted on who the captains were going to be, and it was almost a mirror image. And so we've certainly got some exceptional leaders this year, the seniors, and the other thing that happened is leadership council last year, all the captains were seniors. This year, as a leadership council, we talked about it, because of the youth of our team, and because we have some returning kids who were sophomores last year, the leadership council felt like we needed to have some underclassmen as captains, and so we voted to allow underclassmen, as long as they were on varsity last year, to become a captain. So our captains this year: number 17, Trip Dennis, a senior; number 11, Gavin French, a senior; and number 12, Rob Zimmerman, a senior. And then our junior captains are number 6, Judd Beard, of course, we talked about him; number 10, Cole Immel; and then a lineman. They always love that linemen are the leaders.
Yeah.
They're always the leaders. Number 70, Derek Whitworth. And so, exceptional group. And they're charged with leading. You know, today was their first day to do some normal things. We typically send them to the elementary schools and the other schools to greet kids when they come. Certainly in COVID, we have to wear a mask, and we make sure we don't touch, and we don't, we had to follow all those protocols. But we sent 2 captains to each school, and they bring a teammate with them, and they go to school, and they get to greet all the little kids when they come to school in the morning. And I hope that went well. I hadn't heard anything negative about it yet, so we'll see. But that's one of their jobs, and then the rest of the job that they do is everything that is a concern of the team runs through them, and they meet with me, and we talk often, and those kind of things. So that's kind of our way of developing leadership. And then we have some other roles. You know, some of those other guys on the leadership council, they become the team chaplain, and they become, they do different things. So that's a cool thing about football, is that just because you're out there, you're a leader. Basketball, any sport, just because you do it, you have chosen to become a leader because you have influence over other people. And so, as much as we can help develop that, we want to do that.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Good stuff.
I just got a message in my earpiece. We got a football game tonight. Yeah! We're talking about Gerald coming up right after the We'll be right back.
Gaddy's Pizza in Fredericksburg is a huge supporter of Battling Billy sports, students, and teachers. In fact, Gaddy's offers a lunch special for teachers and students Monday through Friday for only $6.99, and that includes a drink. Gaddy's Pizza also has pasta, dessert, and one of the best salad bars in town. Enjoy the game room. Kids of all ages love it. Gaddy's takes pizza seriously. 2931 Highway 16 South in Fredericksburg. Billy Pride Iberales.
Howdy, Dow Floyd, ex-Battling Billy, class of 1980, Senior Vice President of Texas Hill Country Bank here in Fredericksburg. We're proud of all our local sports programs. We want all teams to have a safe and successful year. Be physically and mentally prepared, be creative, and enjoy the game. That's how we work around here, helping local businesses and individuals accomplish their financial goals. If you need assistance, our team is here for you. Texas Hill Country Bank, where good people make good bankers. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Have you ever been confused by all the options in the investment world? Or maybe just need someone to sit down with to discuss your goals? Why not schedule some time with Scott Immel or Mark Southard at SI Wealth Management? Whether it's as simple as rolling over a 401k or starting a college savings plan, or an efficient way of transferring wealth to future generations, identifying the need is the key to identifying the strategy. Call 830-992-3464 to schedule your appointment today. SI Wealth Management, where a handshake and a look in the eye still means something.
Strayer Dolphers has been going strong since 1928. They specialize in tires and tire repair. Name brands like Michelin. Strayer Dolphers also offers dependable wheel balancing, alignment, brake repair, tune-ups, oil changes, engine service, belts, and hoses. You get the picture. Also check out the Kawasaki Mules, ready to go to work for you. Strayer Dolphers, proudly serving Fredericksburg and the Hill Country for 92 years. Stop by at 509 South Adams or call 830-997-4382. Check them out online, StrayerDolphers.com.
We are back. Look at that beautiful. Look at those beautiful folks. Hey, Miller Time, how about a thumbs up or something, Miller Time? There, 2 thumbs up. It's double bonus coupon day. We're at Barefoot, 108 East Main in Fredericksburg. First time to play Gerald. This is kind of a cool schedule this year. First time to play Monahan.
First time to play a couple of teams for sure.
Gerald, right? First time.
Yeah, no, and it's I alluded to this last week. We have a pretty good history of the whole program, and so it's kind of cool to be playing some teams we've never played. But certainly, Gerald's a team that we were able to find a game, and that's a good thing. And they were willing to come to us. We needed to try to balance the schedule. This game was originally planned to be at Kerrville tonight. Last week was originally planned to be at home for Sam Houston. So just blessed that we're able to get a game with Gerald, Coach Amos Davidson's the head coach, and he does a good job. They do a really good job.
How do
they've gone on
Cougars
some hard
look?
times.
How do they look offensively, defensively?
Yeah, it's interesting. I told the paper this week they're a mirror image of us. So it's 2 weeks in a row where, and totally by random, did we find this? There was no deliberation about how we got these games. This was just strictly by the luck that somebody texted somebody or somebody heard somebody needed a game or whatever, and we're playing two mirror images of ourselves, really. Both shotgun spread teams. They run a lot of the same stuff we do. Got exceptional speed on offense, and so they can get by you, get behind you, get outside of you, and get down the sideline. And then defensively, they'll line up in a four-man front most of the time, relatively multiple. But they look a lot like us, and so it's kind of cool. It's neat for me. I said this to the paper. We don't get to do spring training in 6A and 5A. You get to do spring training, so you learn how to play against your defense and your offense, and that's normally the style that you play the best against, because during spring training you do that for 18 days or whatever. We don't get to do that in 4A, and so we only get to play against each other for about 2 weeks now of training camp. We do a little bit of spring walkthroughs and stuff like that, but we don't really ever get to play against each other, and certainly with numbers you don't get to do that either. But so that part's kind of cool. And they look, they look good. They give me some concern because of their circumstance. They're on the climb out of having not some good years, I guess. And they lost a big game last week to Burnett. I think they lost 46-6 to Burnett. And but the thing that you saw against Burnett was they had a series of unfortunate events happen that let Burnett close the door on them pretty early, and they're down 28-0 at the end of the first quarter, and Gerald's turned it over 3 times, twice for touchdowns.
Ouch.
So, and they had, I think you go through the whole course of the game, they had 5 turnovers. Well, you're not going to beat anybody if you have 5 turnovers, and if some of those turn into touchdowns, you can forget it. And so it was a tough loss for them. It's certainly not indicative of who they are as a team, and so that's what concerns me the most, is that if those things don't happen, the Burnett game is a completely different game, and so we've got to make sure that we're not worried about them as much as we are worried about us and fixing the things that we needed to do better against Monahan and enhancing the things that we did well. And so each week that's what I'm going to talk about. It's cliche as a coach, but it's about us. It's not about Gerald.
Right.
We want to be about us, and we want to do what we do on offense, and we want to do what we do on defense, and we want to do what we do on special teams, and let them try to sort it out and just get better at what we do. So yeah, they're certainly a good opponent, and it's going to be a good night. It's going to be fun to play at home, and we're excited about being back at home, and we're excited about having a band. The band's going to be there tonight, and so.
Got a little strange not having the band last week.
You think?
Yeah, right.
It was definitely a different environment. I think. Shout out to Miss Granados of the paper. She wrote an editorial about it was kind of eerie, just playing a football game without all the pageantry, is what she alluded to. But the thing she said in her editorial was, once the kickoff happened, it was on. It was football. It was back to normal.
It was so nice to see.
Very thankful that we were doing it. So yeah, no. So anyway, that's what we got going tonight.
All right.
Cool.
We're gonna talk. What I like about this show too is we talk Billy Nation, talk about some of the other sports, and we're gonna do that right after the break. We're live at Barefoot, 108 East Main, Fredericksburg. Check out all this Battling Billy gear right here. Come and get you some.
Get your stuff for sure. No doubt.
When you have an accident in that vehicle you rely on, there is peace of mind in the Hill Country. Lance's Body and Paint, they offer all types of collision repair. They work with all insurance companies. Lance's Body and Paint is iCar certified, so you know you're getting the latest repair technology in Fredericksburg and in the Texas Hill Country. Lance's Body and Paint, Highway 290 East in Fredericksburg supports our Fredericksburg Battling Billies. Call 830-990-2900.
Bee Creek Communications is celebrating 20 years of connecting the Hill Country. 20 years of scaling towers, climbing roofs, installing networks, wireless broadcasting, timely responses, friendly service, technical support, expanding coverage, increasing speeds, keeping promises, providing our community with always-on high-speed internet. Bee Creek Communications, celebrating 20 years of serving you.
Toch Well Service will take care of all your water well needs that come after drilling. They specialize in water pump installation and repairs, servicing windmills, solar pumps, jets, submersible pumps, and pressure tanks. Toch Well Service has been in business since 2002 with 83 years combined experience. Their entire staff is dedicated to their customers. Toch Well Service supports all men and women in the United States military and first responders. Toch Well Service, 830-997-2413. On the web, hillcountrywaterwell.com, and look for them on Facebook.
Be the envy of the neighborhood with the lush, thriving lawn from All Around Irrigation, LLC. We are dedicated to providing friendly, professional service to leave you with outstanding results. We have built a reputation for getting the job done right. We offer a number of services, including land clearing, development, rain collection, drainage, and of course, landscaping irrigation. The grass can be greener on your side when you call All Around Irrigation, LLC today.
Hey, volleyball fans. Joseph Financial Partners is here to support the Battling Billies and to help you with all of your financial goals. Whether it's saving for retirement, college savings, or even life insurance or long-term care, we've got your back. Let us serve up an appointment with you, then dig into your finances, goals, and dreams. Hey, and then we can assist and set a plan in motion and spike your goals to score. Success takes teamwork, so call Joseph Financial Partners at 830-997-4763 or check us out online at josephfinancialpartners.com. Securities are offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC.
Here, got volleyball. All right, we are back. Let's take a look across Billy Nation here. Got volleyball, team tennis, cross country going on. How are things looking, Coach?
It's great to be back to normal, right? We're playing volleyball. We'd been on the road for 2 or 3 matches in volleyball, so we hadn't been home in a while. So we hosted another home game Tuesday night. We played Ingram, and we were a sellout. It's only 250 tickets nowadays, but it was a sellout crowd. The gym was rocking. It was back to normal. It was fun, and the girls competed. Coach Raymer, they did a good job competing. They lost to a tough Gerald team. Gerald's ranked high in their classification, and they've got a senior-led team, and so they competed well and continue to improve. But they're at home tonight versus Navarro at 6.
We got it. Yeah, we got it right here.
Live, so people can come watch that, and then tune into the football game, or if they got tickets, come down to the football game. And so they're progressing nicely. They'll be moving toward district. Everything we're doing is moving toward district, where the games start to count, so that you can earn a playoff berth or whatever. And that's the whole goal of everything we're trying to do. And that's get to a championship is what finish means, is that we want to finish the season so that we can get to a championship, and hopefully by then everything will be back to normal. Team tennis, Coach King and his crew, defending state champions 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row, baby.
18-19 state champions, and they're off to a great start. I don't think they've lost a match or a team tennis outing, and they just continue to win, and they're winning pretty big in most of them. Just like volleyball, just like football, scheduling had to be redone, and all of us are typically used to playing 5As and some 6As and that kind of thing. So in team tennis, as you get lower in the classifications, below 4A, it's not even a sanctioned UIL sport. So as you get out in the hill country and out west, it's harder to find, the opponents you want to compete against. And Coach King has a history of playing the 5As and the 6As in San Antonio and in Austin, and in between the two San Antonio and Austin metropolitan areas. And so he had a little bit of a time. You don't want to play Mason over and over again. Mason is certainly an exceptional tennis program, and we play them a lot, and their coaches are friends with our coaches and all that stuff. But you don't want to play them every week. So we were able to find a schedule. We didn't get all the matches he wanted, but certainly they're off to a great start, and they're headed to another banner year, hopefully, and we'll get that done. And then cross country, they hosted a dual meet last Saturday at the high school. Coach Aldridge did a great job of putting all that together and managing all the COVID protocols for that. That's you think about cross country, the only time social distancing happens in cross country is at the end of the race where they're all spread out, because in the beginning they're all bunched up in a big group, and it's just a mass of humanity. So certainly the UIL restrictions on that are you can only do a dual meet or whatever, and then as you progress, hopefully some of the restrictions will be lessened just like the rest of this. So, but they had a good meet last week. They ran some good times, boys and girls, and they're on track. Coach Aldridge, I say this every year, does a great job of conditioning them such that they're hitting their peak when they need to be. So they're right on their marks, and it's going well. So everything's good in Billy Nation. I'm glad to say that the first week and 2 weeks of school have been exceptional. I shouted out to our teachers last week. I'm going to probably do it every week. They're doing an amazing job.
Yes, they are.
Keeping this thing going and keeping us as normal as we can possibly be in this environment. And just some of the things that are going on are amazing. So I want to shout out to Joe Gonzalez and our administration, Cheryl Wallace and her administration for middle school, and then all the administration at all the schools are doing a great job keeping our kids as normal as they can possibly be in this situation.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Going
Yeah.
well. Well, let's see. This is kind of cool. Maybe some questions from the audience. Maybe there was. Did you have any pre-submitted questions?
We didn't do any pre-submitted. So
Okay.
One year, when we first started this,
I like that.
we were adamant that we weren't taking questions. We're not doing that. But one year, shout out to Mrs. Winnicky. She was one of our Billy moms with the Winnicky boys, and she asked one year. She said, "Can we give you some questions for Coffee with Coach?" And so I did it those couple of years, and sometimes you worry about some of those questions, but certainly I think I'm more prepared now and ready to go. So
Well, now that I've set this up, let's finish.
Yeah, let's finish.
Who's got a question? Come on, Joel.
Man.
Joel, somebody.
Joel had a question.
We've been trying to think about, well, you kind of mentioned that at the beginning. It was kind of who from last week's game wasn't in the paper, wasn't shining star that everybody saw, but did really well, and you were...
Yeah, so I talked about the offensive line specifically. I would say both lines. In our scheme, everything we do is dependent on what those guys do up front. And so our defensive line, James Sabera, Caleb Alfers, Yuri Estrada, Zach Laboli, Austin Shepard, Matthew Groby, all in that rotation on the defensive line, did an exceptional job. Our defense works when those guys get double teamed, because if they're getting double teamed, then Logan Metzger and Gary Seidenberger are running free. And so that's how defensive football works. So those guys did an exceptional job. And then I already talked about the offensive line, and those guys have a pretty good rotation. David Suarez, Colby Wright, Derek Whitworth already mentioned, Rusty Price, and Davis Engler, and Yordi Hernandez are those guys. And they have a rotation, and they did a great job. And they're always going to be unsung guys. No one's going to see. I made a point last week, and they actually got props in the paper. It said the O-line, was the headline of the newspaper article. So those guys are always going to be the guys that are hidden in the stats. And then another kid that stands out to me is Angel Neary. We had 3 turnovers. Angel Neary was a kid who didn't play last year. He'd gotten hurt a couple years ago, and there's so much concern when a kid gets hurt in football that families aren't always as supportive of keeping them in football, because it's a violent game and you can get hurt, And so he didn't play last year. He loves football, so I'm going to tell on him right here. He didn't tell his mom that he was going to play football last year. He just showed up for football practice. And she found out he was at football practice, and he couldn't play anymore. Which is what she should have done, because he didn't tell her the truth or whatever. And so he didn't play last year, but he came back this year, talked to mom, got her back on board, and she's back on board with us. And he comes up with 2 turnovers last week, playing. Playing as a he's a rotator at corner. I think we started the game with Yansky and Beard at corner, and Angel was the 3rd corner, and then all of a sudden, Yansky's playing a lot on offense, and you got to keep him fresh. And so you look up, and Angel's playing a whole bunch, and the next thing you know, he's got 2 turnovers. And so, just an unsung guy that maybe you weren't expecting to do something, in the way we did it. So,
Good question, Joe.
That's a great question.
I think you sort of answered mine probably with him. I was going to ask you, one person who played last year showed the most improvement this year.
Yeah, I got to give that one to Price and Whitworth. Those 2 guys were numbers 6 and 7 on the offensive line last year, and this year they were charged with becoming one of the top 5, right? And they did everything they needed to do between last season and this season to get there. And they're both dominating. There's a picture in the paper of Colby Wright blocking down and seeing Yordi pull, and so I would give those 2 guys the biggest credit. And Yordi Hernandez is a guy that was on the JV last year that is playing exceptional, and so those are probably the 2 that stand out the most. But we're, I'll be able to talk about that all week because there's so many kids playing so well.
Yeah.
Right now.
The team is playing just that as a team. So. Well, that's going to wrap up our show for today. Coach Moffet, thank you very much.
It's good. I like this. I like without all the
man, we're
regalia and all that stuff.
Heck, I could take a sip of coffee.
Yeah,
I mean, what are the chances?
No, let's just keep this thing going. We want to finish. That's our deal. We want to finish this year. So we want to finish. We want to get 10 shows in. We want to get 10 games in, and then go on to the playoffs and do whatever we do. So.
And take care of Gerald. Take care of the Cougars tonight.
Appreciate all you're doing, and want to shout out before we go to all our sponsors. We've got our all sports program that is going to be out tonight. You can buy that online. We talked a little bit about this last week. Everything is online. I want to make sure if anybody's watching or listening, you're not going to be able to buy a ticket at the game tonight. We are our administrative team, our director of game operations, Christy Moore, and I are very concerned that a whole bunch of people are going to show up today thinking that they're going to be able to buy a ticket at the gate, and they're not. And so if you show up to the game, you better have a cell phone, and you better be ready to give instructions as to how to buy a ticket on your phone if there's any tickets left. And so just be ready for that. Also, this can be bought online as well. You have to pay for it online where you buy the tickets. You get a ticket to get one, and you can redeem your ticket for one of these at the concession stand. That's how we're doing that. But I want to shout out to Ruth Staley and Carolyn Watson for all the work they do on this, and Deedle Printing. This has been a partnership with us for many, many, many years, and they do a great job. And this year it was a little more difficult because we talked about doing a digital version. We talked about the UIL has basically said that they don't want us doing anything in the stands that involves us changing hands of money or food or T-shirts or whatever. They don't want us passing the virus, right? And so it made all of these kind of things a little more difficult. And then shout out to our scoreboard sponsors. Tonight will be our first home game. We have anchor sponsors, founding sponsors, premier sponsors, and then all the people that support you guys through what we do. It's just a neat operation that we have that helps us do what we do. And I just want to say thank you to all that. And team dinner sponsors and all of those people that do a great job. So.
We couldn't do it without those folks. So that's good stuff. Now the game is on video tonight. In case you haven't heard, video and audio at TexasRadio.net, celebrating our 10th anniversary there at TexasRadio.net of Battling Billy Sports. All 10 years right here at Barefoot too for Coffee with Coach. All right, God bless you folks. Go Billies. Don't forget to follow us tonight at 6. Battling Billy football. We're right after that.
Excellent. Thanks. Awesome. We on.
All right.